No, I'm not convinced about that. I think that we should continue to investigate what went on in China until we find out, to the best of our ability, exactly what happened.
All right, so the time on that was May 11th, 2021, so about 2 weeks ago, not May 11th, 2020, when I think he could have said the exact same thing to answer the exact same question, the question that we've all been asking for a long time: where did coronavirus really come from? We just heard from Dr. Anthony Fauci saying that he's not convinced that it did not come from a lab in Wuhan, China, something a year ago that was written off as a fringe, far-right conspiracy theory. I'm not kidding you. That's seriously what people would say. For more, I want to bring in the former HHS Deputy Chief of Staff, Paul Mango, who worked in the Trump White House. Paul, nice to see you again. And the author of The Coming Collapse of China, Gordon Chang, is with us this morning. Gentlemen, so good to have you both on in a panel this morning. Paul, we'll start with you. Dr. Fauci, let's face it, he's been the source of a lot of good information, but also a lot of bad information over the last 15 months, confusing information. He now says suddenly that, yeah, the virus that's killed over 3.4 million people worldwide might have come from a lab in Wuhan. I'm wondering why the sudden change of heart.
Yeah, Rob, I don't think we know whether it came from the lab or not, but what we do know is that all of the dissembling, all of the obfuscation from China, from the World Health Organization, from the Biden administration, and now from Dr. Fauci should make us all suspicious. And as you said, I think the thing that irks us most is that over a year ago, several folks, starting with Tom Cotton and many in the administration, advanced this hypothesis. And it was dismissed, as you said, as conservative conspiracy theory. But now that 18 scientists, biologists from Yale and Harvard, not exactly a hotbed or hotbeds of conservative conspiracies, right, have advanced the same hypothesis, the media, the liberal media, are finally embracing it. Yeah. And that irks, I think, all of us.
We were just written off at Newsmax. I've been talking about this for months and months, and people said, oh, it's just that's right-wing, gobbledygook. At this point, I actually think there's more evidence that it came from a lab versus the animal theory. Gordon, Fauci defenders are going to insist that his views are evolving based on new information. That's a very popular excuse. I don't personally believe that, but how much do you think that Dr. Fauci really knows, and has he been lying to the American people maybe from the start?
Rob, I think he knows a lot, because in fiscal 2014, his institute at the National Institutes of Health actually funded Echo Health Alliance, which is a New York-based NGO, for the purpose of Echo Health sending the money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology for bat research. There were papers that were actually produced showing that this was gain-of-function research. So even if the money wasn't for gain-of-function, Fauci should have known that it was used for that. So I think that he is actually known for quite some time. And by the way, your point about the preponderance of evidence, there is now no evidence for a zoonotic transfer. There's no one's found the reservoir of the disease. No one's found the transmission links. So there is more evidence for a lab leak, and you're absolutely right about that.
And one of those three Wuhan lab workers that got the coronavirus way back a month before we knew it was a thing in Wuhan, one of them could be patient zero. That's something that should be investigated. Paul, many now say the media dismissed the lab theory because then President Donald Trump actually supported the lab theory. He was early to sort of voice his support that might have some merit. Take a listen.
We're looking at exactly where it came from, who it came from, how it happened, separately and also scientifically. So we're going to be able to find out.
And my question is, have you seen anything at this point that gives you a high degree of confidence that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was the origin of this virus?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Paul, you were there. You were in many of those rooms. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I was. I think as time goes on, Rob, what we're going to learn is that President Trump was more right than wrong on almost all of these issues. And that, again, the media has this reflex of anything that President Trump asserts or advances is somehow wrong. And we're finding out the opposite. Now, the Biden administration seems to be turning to the World Health Organization to try to resolve this. Well, they've had two swings at the ball already, one in May of 2020, one in February of 2021, and they whiffed both times. But he's going to try to delegate this to a global organization that has screwed it up twice, and that's not the way to get to the bottom of it.
Gordon, a lot of this sounds like biological warfare, if this is in fact proven to be the case. I think it's a great idea that the U.S. is sharing vaccines. We've got plenty of vaccines now here in the U.S. Countries like India need it. But Gordon, should we really be sharing the vaccine technology, the underlying intellectual property with countries like China?
Absolutely not, because we know that China is going to use this to develop their vaccine industry. And we may say, oh, that sounds nice. But that would then give them incentive to do what they've been talking about in public, which is launch biological warfare. Because if they can protect their own population, that makes it more likely that they will start a war with that. And by the way, sharing the patent technology by waiving the protections, that's not going to speed up the delivery of vaccines, which is the stated purpose, because the bottleneck is not the intellectual property. The bottleneck actually is raw materials. And right now, both Pfizer and Moderna would not be able to make as many vaccines as quickly with fewer raw materials, because more entrants are going to be there. And a lot of those entrants aren't going to be able to produce vaccines that are safe and reliable and do that so in a quick manner.
Scary stuff, gentlemen, and a question that I think more people should be asking. It's a question that we should all want to find the right answer to. Paul Mango, Gordon Chang, pleasure having you on. Good to see you guys.
Thanks, Rob, for having us.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.